Who is the enabler? The narcissist's loyal partner in control. Welcome back. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and this is the Family Roles series. Today, we begin a new arc. An arc that turns the spotlight away from the narcissist and onto someone far more confusing, far more socially accepted, and often far more psychologically destructive. Today, we're looking at the enabler. This is the family member who doesn't shout, doesn't insult, doesn't rage, but still upholds the narcissistic system with absolute loyalty. They are the narcissist's right hand, not in appearance, but in effect. And if you've been scapegoated, neglected, gaslit, or made to question your memory, there's a good chance the enabler helped make that happen without ever raising their voice. The enabler's power lies in their softness, their helpfulness, their calm tone. They often seem like the nicest person in the family, but that's precisely what makes them dangerous. While the narcissist is dominating the room, the enabler is smoothing things over. While the narcissist is attacking you, the enabler is telling you to calm down. And while you're trying to leave the system or tell the truth, the enabler is urging you to keep the peace. But this isn't peacekeeping. This is participation. And we're going to break it down in full detail. Defining the enabler. An enabler is a person who actively or passively supports the narcissist by defending their behavior, silencing their critics, or preserving the illusion of a functional family. They may not be overtly abusive, but their behaviors result in the same outcome. The narcissist remains in power, and the truth teller is isolated. In some families, the enabler is the other parent. In others, it's a sibling, a grandparent, or an extended family member who holds emotional influence. The role isn't defined by age, gender, or relationship. It's defined by behavior. Anyone who protects the narcissist at the expense of others, whether through silence, denial, redirection, or guilt, is functioning as an enabler. The enabler's loyalty is not to truth. It is to harmony, to image, to stability at any cost. But that stability is almost always built on emotional suppression. It means punishing those who speak up, rewarding those who comply, and gaslighting anyone who tries to name what's really going on. Because the enabler is not interested in healing. They're interested in preserving the illusion that everything is fine. How the enabler is formed. The enabler is often shaped by trauma. They may have grown up with a narcissist themselves, learning early that it's safer to appease than confront. They may have adopted the belief that survival depends on keeping people happy, even if that means lying to themselves. Some enablers are deeply codependent. Others are conflict avoidant. Many are emotionally immature and cannot tolerate discomfort. So they make the person who brings up the problem into the problem. In their mind, it's easier to ask you to shut up than to ask the narcissist to change. But this doesn't mean the enabler is confused. That's the myth. Enablers often know exactly what's happening. They see the abuse, they recognize the patterns, they understand the roles. But they've decided consciously or unconsciously that the narcissist's emotional equilibrium matters more than your emotional safety. So they stay loyal to dysfunction. And they call that loyalty, maturity, wisdom, or keeping the family together. False empathy and emotional redirection. One of the enabler's core tactics is emotional redirection. When you try to talk about what the narcissist did, the enabler shifts the conversation away from the abuser and back onto you. You say, "He humiliated me in front of everyone." And the enabler replies, "But why are you still holding on to that?" Or worse, you know he's been under a lot of stress. Now your feelings are not just inconvenient, they're inappropriate. You're the one causing tension. You're the one refusing to move on. This tactic works because it's coded in emotional language. The enabler often uses empathy not for you, but for the narcissist. She didn't mean it. You have to understand what he's been through. She's trying. But this isn't real empathy. It's emotional sleight of hand. It shifts your role from injured party to emotional caretaker. Now you're expected to feel compassion for the person who harmed you and shame for having a normal reaction. Inverting harm and responsibility. The enabler constantly inverts responsibility. If the narcissist explodes, it's because you pushed their buttons. If they lie, it's because you're too sensitive to the truth. If you withdraw to protect yourself, you're shutting down the family. These inversions are subtle, but relentless. Over time, they teach you to internalize blame, to feel ashamed of setting boundaries, to mistrust your own instincts. This inversion creates what psychologists call double binds. A double bind is when every choice you make is punished. If you stay silent, you're accused of pouting. If you speak up, you're accused of causing drama. If you forgive, you're enabling the abuser. If you walk away, you're tearing the family apart. No matter what you do, the enabler finds a way to make it wrong. And this creates paralysis. You learn that safety doesn't come from clarity, it comes from invisibility. Conflict avoidance, as control enablers often claim they don't want to take sides. But neutrality in a system of abuse is not a moral high ground, it's protection of power. When someone is being hurt and another person refuses to intervene, that refusal is a choice. It's a decision to leave the harm unchallenged. And that decision always benefits the person causing the harm. This is how enablers maintain control without ever appearing controlling. They don't yell. They don't issue commands, they simply withhold emotional support from anyone who disrupts the narrative. And they reward silence, submission, and emotional suppression. This creates a system where the narcissist is never directly opposed, and the people being hurt are never truly heard. Enablers and the myth of peacekeeping. The enabler's favorite identity is the peacekeeper. They believe their job is to hold the family together, but what they're really doing is holding the lie together. Real peace comes from truth, repair, and accountability. But enablers are invested in artificial peace that requires people to stay silent about abuse, to minimize pain, and to prioritize image over healing. This false peace often shows up around holidays, weddings, funerals, anytime the family is gathered and appearances matter. The enabler becomes the event planner, the mediator, the one begging you to just let it go for the sake of the group. And if you refuse, you're the one who ruined everything. Not the narcissist who created the original rupture, but you, the one who dared to name it. Public protection, private cowardice enablers are often emotionally performative. In public, they act warm, inclusive, concerned. They play the role of the open-minded parent, the fun uncle, the big sister who just wants everyone to get along. But in private, they deflect, avoid, or gaslight. They'll tell you that confronting the narcissist is unproductive, that bringing up the past is unhealthy, that you need to stop living in victimhood. This emotional duplicity makes healing incredibly hard because you're constantly told that the person who hurt you isn't really the problem. You are. You're too angry. You're not forgiving enough. You're bringing everyone down. But the truth is, you're the only one telling the truth, the only one seeing clearly, the only one refusing to betray yourself for the sake of social harmony. The enabler's fear of consequences. At the root of the enabler's behavior is fear. Fear of being attacked, fear of losing access to the narcissist's approval, fear of facing their own complicity. Many enablers have built their identity around being the non-abusive one, the good parent, the sibling who doesn't pick fights, the one who never yelled, but they never protected you, and deep down, they know it. To admit the abuse would mean admitting their failure to stop it, their failure to name it, their failure to prioritize your safety. So instead, they protect the story. They cling to the belief that everyone did the best they could, that the past wasn't really that bad, that you're the one who's stuck. It's not just denial, it's self-preservation. Because the moment they face the truth, they'll have to reckon with what they allowed. Why the enabler often does more damage than the narcissist. Here's the paradox. Many survivors report that the enabler caused them more long-term damage than the narcissist. Why? Because the narcissist was obvious. You knew they were unsafe. But the enabler pretended to care. They pretended to listen. They used warmth, kindness, and concern to mask the fact that they were always on the narcissist's side. This false safety is more disorienting than overt cruelty. It trains you to confuse affection with erasure, to associate care with correction, to doubt your instincts, even in the face of clear harm. And when you finally try to heal by setting boundaries, going no contact, or telling your story, the enabler reappears, calm as ever, asking you to just think about what you're doing to the family. Recognizing the enabler in your own healing. One of the hardest parts of recovery is realizing that the person you hoped would rescue you was never going to. The person you looked to for help was quietly working against your truth the whole time. And the closer you get to your voice, your boundaries, your power, the more resistance you get from the enabler. You may feel guilt. You may feel grief. You may want to believe they'll change if you just explain it better. But most enablers don't change, because changing would mean facing the shame of their silence. And most people would rather defend the lie than dismantle the system that gave their role meaning. You are not obligated to keep them comfortable. You are not responsible for maintaining a relationship with someone who participated in your harm. You are allowed to name what they did, what they didn't do, and how it shaped you. Rewriting the enabler narrative. The enabler will always say, I did my best, but their best wasn't enough. They may not have screamed, but they helped the one who did. They may not have lied, but they covered up the truth. They may not have punished you, but they asked you to forgive someone who never made amends. Your job is not to fix the enabler. Your job is to stop internalizing their shame, to stop translating their minimization into your silence, to stop mistaking their fear for your responsibility. Your job is to live in truth even when that truth makes others uncomfortable. And truth means this: enabling is not kindness. It is not maturity. It is not love. It is a form of control. It is a loyalty to harm. It is a decision to protect power, not people. And you are allowed to walk away from that. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and what you just watched is part of my signature program, the Chosen One series inside School of Soul. This series is not just a course, it's a blueprint for those who know they were different from the start: the black sheep, the scapegoat, the truth teller, the cycle breaker. Inside, you'll discover the family roles playbook, the golden child, the scapegoat, the enabler, the lost child, and how to finally step out of the part you were cast in without consent. How the black sheep becomes the goat, turning rejection into radical transformation in leadership. How to break generational curses and rewrite ancestral contracts so the pain stops with you. and how to recognize and escape modern forms of spiritual and technological targeting, from gang stalking to synthetic synchronicity. This isn't just about survival. It's about awakening, about reclaiming your voice, your lineage, and your destiny as one of the chosen ones. Click the link below to access the full series now, because the role ends the moment you decide it does, and the real script begins with you.